Let's talk about Pennsylvania.
Immediately after Trump's election, really saw something special happening in Pennsylvania, which was that there was really a mass mobilization of everyday people, many of whom hadn't been involved in politics, who were seeking a political home, were seeking community with each other. That energy evolved into Pennsylvania Stands Up. Pennsylvania Stands Up is a multiracial statewide organization that builds multiracial political power with everyday working class people. We really engage with people who have been disconnected, ignored, disrespected by the political process. We focus on places that have been left behind economically, but also left behind politically, which, truth be told, in Pennsylvania is actually most of the state. So when all of that energy happened after Trump, people didn't really have anywhere to go. I heard stories from, women moms who would put a little pin in their lapel so they would know when they went to the grocery store that it was safe to talk about politics with each other. I heard stories from farmers who were reaching out to other farmers to have political conversations for the first time. 2016 opened something up in Pennsylvania that hadn't been politically possible for really a long time. Each chapter is directed, its political leadership and strategy is set by a leadership team of 7 to 9 people who are deeply rooted in the community and who represent the community, who set the political strategy, which again is really oriented towards turning non-voters into voters and to connecting people into our political community. We very strategically choose the issues that we organize around to reflect people's day-to-day lives and lived experiences. And I think most critically, we organize 365 days a year. There's meetings happening tonight all over the state. On February 9th, 2021, an off year politically, but not at all an off year in terms of our strategy, which is, fixed far into the future.
My name is Sergio. I use he, him pronouns. I'm with Reclaim Philadelphia, which is a chapter of PA Stands Up. Directly after the election, there was a race for district attorney. We helped elect the most progressive DA in the country, which was Larry Krasner. He ran against a whole field of Democratic opponents who were supported by the establishment, and he took them all on and he won. And that was because of the organizing and because people really knew that they wanted somebody in line with their values to be in the DA's office. So the way that I came into being involved is that I saw some of these things happening. Like, I always cared about politics and I would watch it, but I was never really involved. I was more of a slacktivist, like somebody just yelling into the internet void about my opinions. But seeing organizers walking around with Reclaim shirts as they're canvassing for Larry Krasner, and then seeing Larry Krasner actually win against all odds, gave me the hope that my values could actually work and win if we're all organized together. So that's how I got involved with Reclaim. I had been following them, and it was like we have these races called committee people, which are like political block captains for the city. And they go on to form these wards in the city that endorse specific candidates in the primary. So what Reclaim started to do was start to focus on these super hyper local races because Reclaim was, there were a lot of former Bernie volunteers, and what they learned is they didn't have enough power to affect things at the national level. So what would it look like if we took a bottom up approach to organizing and building power? And that's what we've been doing in the city. So it started with folks like Larry Krasner. It continued with people like me running for committee person and helping democratize wards throughout the city. One of the leaders reached out to me about running for committee person. I, like many people, there were a lot of things that I said to myself about why I didn't deserve to build power, why I, as a Latino in West Philadelphia, didn't deserve it, why as a queer person I didn't deserve it, why as a high school dropout I don't deserve to be building power. But that was all in my head. And what canvassing and door knocking helped me understand is that people really just care about the issues. So running for committee person was a liberating experience for me. It helped me step into power, but it also kept me on this trajectory. So I helped after running for committee person, which was in the primary of the gubernatorial, I was a field organizer for Tom Wolf for governor. And it was one of those things where at the time I wasn't super excited about it because he's not somebody that is super aligned with me. But now going through all of that election defense, I am so thankful for the groundwork that we did in that race, because how different would it look like for this election to have a Republican governor call the shots when it comes to how voting is done in our state, who are going to be the electors, all those kind of things. So I'm excited. I feel like through the investment and leadership development of other organizers and Reclaim and throughout PA Stands Up, we have been building this new progressive vision for what Black and brown leadership looks like.
One value that's really central to our organization is that we speak about race very explicitly in all of our conversations. And I think for far too often, we've avoided naming how race structures our lived experience and certainly our political economy. So it's very, very important to name how race is used strategically to divide us, and to name how Pennsylvania, a state that's nearly 80% white, that white people in Pennsylvania and in America have an investment in whiteness, because the system gives us crumbs that keep us believing in a system that ultimately benefits those at the very top. So we have conversations about race when we organize in white communities. I actually think those are some of the most vital and important conversations that we need to have at a time when the GOP in Pennsylvania is openly embracing white supremacy.
I mean, I would say similar to what Hannah said about the relational canvassing, that is the number one way. What we're seeing in Pennsylvania is that after the insurrection, there's a lot of Republican voters who are switching parties. These are folks who saw what happened and were disgusted, and these are people that we need to organize. We need to be building the bigger we for the wins that we need for our state. And a lot of that comes from the way that we use narrative, the way that we engage with voters. And similar to what Hannah was saying, it's not just saying blue wave and vote for this color or this party. It's talking about the issues, it's talking about values, and talking about how your family is impacted and what kind of community and future you want to be building. And that's the way that's the antidote to Trumpism, is similar to what was the antidote to my apathy, is having somebody actually give you meaningful political engagement.
I just want to extend a true heartfelt thanks to everyone who's a part of the Airlift community. I met Danny in person in Philadelphia in the summer of 2019. When you all had already been investing in our work, and have been in regular contact with the whole team, with Ruth and Renee and Larry and Jim on a regular basis, which is a very, I have to say, exceptional relationship with a funder. 2020 was actually really our first full year of operations as a statewide organization. So I feel, again, a really special kinship with Airlift for having been with us.